This is dralvin.com, the business of wisdom, where world leaders and thinkers do come to chat. We happen to have the extraordinary best-selling author of Guardians of Purity, A Parent's Guide to Winning the War Against Media, Peer Pressure, and Eroding Sexual Values. I'd like for this extraordinary best-selling author to share her name, and then tell me something about your ministry.
Thank you, Dr. Alvin. My name is Julie Hiramine, and I have a ministry called Generations of Virtue, and what we try and do is equip parents to empower their children for purity and to stand against the tide of culture in our world today. And so we do that with both young kids all the way through teenagers.
At the beginning of the book, I love your chapter or introduction that says, "Wake up and smell the deception." Tell me about that chapter.
You know, there is a world that our kids are facing that we never faced when we were growing up. There are challenges that they face every day when they walk out the front door or even in their bedroom that we never, ever had. And so what we're trying to do is help parents see. I want parents to know what kind of world their kids live in, that their kids live in a world that has tremendous challenges.
Because in that particular chapter, you really go and break down all the, for example, sexual images and the kinds of things perhaps a parent would not want their child to be involved with. Tell me about the use of technology and how technology is influencing too many of our young people.
You know, technology is a very, very key influence in our kids' lives. And, you know, I have a study that I've looked at in the average 8 to 18-year-old, when you talk about how much technology they immerse themselves in every day while they're multitasking and doing, you know, listening to music while they're on the internet and they're texting while they're watching a movie, all those things add up to 10 hours and 45 minutes a day for the average teen, 8 to 18. And so that's a huge amount of technology. And I know most parents look at that and they say, that's not my child. There's no way they spend that much time. But even if they don't, look at how much influence and impact this has on our kids' worlds. It's huge. They spend an hour and 35 minutes, an average, that the 7th to 12th graders sending and receiving text messages every day. An hour and 35 minutes. That's a lot of time. I mean, I really look at my kids and I wonder if their thumbs are going to fall off one of these days.
Tell me about the culture of celebrity and the fact of the Hollywood hangover. You deal with that as well.
Yeah, and just that there are so many media influence in our kids' lives. And the thing is that we as parents want to be the number one influence. And studies show that especially if you're a parent of a teen, I know some days I feel like I have, you know, I feel like, are you listening? Are you hearing me? But we have to realize that studies show again and again that parents are really the number one influence in their kids' lives. But it's how we choose to use that influence to help them, to be with them, to be walking with them. And so with Hollywood banging on our front door and, you know, right here in the middle of our living rooms, it's like a flood that we have to deal with every day with their standards and their values. And so if Hollywood is giving our kids, even from the time they're very young, a lot of values that are not the same values we have as a family, we need to be speaking into our children's lives. We need to be saying, like, this is the values that we have. And one message is not going to do it. We have to be doing that. They're getting hundreds of messages every day. So we have to be doing that day by day and walking with our kids and helping them interpret the culture that they live in.
Well, you also, besides giving us scholarship and research, you give us personal stories, and you talk about the importance of family connecting, and you give us an illustration concerning your family in a Florida vacation.
Yes. So we were in Florida on vacation one year, and out in front of our hotel there was a professional sand sculptor. And I had never met a professional sand sculptor. I mean, I like to build sand castles, but this guy was absolutely incredible. And in front of our hotel, over the course of 4 days, he built a sand sculpture that was a replica of the Tower of London. And it was about the size of an RV. And it was huge and absolutely amazing. And so as my husband began to strike up a conversation with this gentleman every day as we went to the beach, he got to know him. And at the end of him finishing it, he said, "Hey, would your kids like to assist me? And what we're doing is a showtime piece, and on this piece, we want the kids to run in and tear down this whole castle, the Tower of London that I've made, And we looked at him with wide eyes and said, you want our kids to tear that down? You just worked for days on that. And he said, okay, well, it's a Showtime piece, so I'm going along with it. And so as I watched these kids all run in, there was a whole group of them that they had recruited. And this castle, this tower that he had taken days to put together, painstakingly, was just gone in a matter of minutes. And when I look back at that story, I realized that sometimes the choices that our kids make, their lives can be torn down in a matter of moments. But what's important is that we as parents teach them how to build on the rock of Jesus Christ and how to build on godly values and that foundation and not build on the sand. And so that's something that I looked at and I thought, it's so worth investing our kids moment by moment from the time they're very, very young so that when they're out there and they're having to make those choices and those judgments, they can make good ones.
In chapter number 4, you talk about patterns that undermine character. Tell me about that.
The patterns that our kids get into that sometimes we as a parent, we get frustrated. We work with them and we're helping them and we see a pattern that's just difficult to overcome. And so in this chapter, what I do is I dive into some of the things that have been challenges for us as parents and maybe some different patterns that we can bring to light to help them see underlying factors in those actions that our kids have so we can help them have really positive choices. And we can see where in the way they choose not to follow God, what are the things that are the underlying at the heart of it? And so that's what I dive into in chapter 4.
In chapter number 6, you talk about building character that lasts a lifetime. How can a parent do that?
Our kids, it needs to start young, and it needs to come from mom and dad and within our family. Sometimes as parents, we find the best education, the best academics. We find the greatest sports teams and get them into music, and we get them into all these different areas that are really good for them. But what we can't forget is that building their character, which starts at home, it's not something that we just outsource, is vital for our kids. We need to build from the inside out. And so as we're working with them and helping them, we want to build that foundation of character in our children. And I look at it, and I look at my kids. Let's add, I have a 5-year-old right now. It's my youngest. Let's add 30 years onto that. Let's say she's married. She has 2 kids and a dog, and she lives in suburbia, and her marriage hits the rocks. It is not going to be that she was the star basketball player or that she aced chemistry and calculus that's going to come to her aid. What's going to come to her aid is what we've taught her, mom and dad, about healthy relationships, about how to resolve conflict, about how to be selfless and love another person. And so those are the things that we want to really work with our kids in these areas.
The name of the book is entitled Guardians of Purity. Give me a final thought. Tell me how to get a copy of the book. Let me know about any Facebook, website, etc. to be a part of your world.
How you get a copy of this book, Guardians of Purity, is on our website, generationsofvirtue.org, generationsofvirtue.org. And in fact, we're running a special today and tomorrow. Usually the book's $14.99. We're doing a special for $10. If you put in the coupon code DC Radio at the very end, it's $10 plus shipping, and we're happy to get one out to you.
Well, thank you so very much for sharing this important scholarship and research. It will be featured at dralvin.com, the business of wisdom, where world leaders and thinkers do come to chat. It will also be placed on Facebook at dralvin.com, and we will tweet this at Dr. Alvin Jones. And you continue to have a remarkable and amazing day with your husband, Kay, and your 5 children, okay?
Thank you very much, Dr. Alvin.